segment of the conference, a maker student panel. So this is the first time since the inception of the National Black Writers Conference that Medgar Evers students have led a panel, so I know we are in for a treat. The panelists will tackle the topic, how does popular culture influence social thought, interaction, and activism? So first, I would like to introduce today's moderator, Ms. Reese Hughes. Ms. Hughes is an English major at Medgar Evers College. She has a passion for Black literature and uses her social media page to amplify Black and other marginalized authors. She volunteers for the online magazine Reading Magazine as a copy editor and proofreader. As an aspiring writer, she hopes to create work which pays homage to the past that identifies our present and shapes our future. Please welcome Ms. Hughes, who will introduce you to our amazing panelists.
Thank you, Professor Hill. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm honored to moderate my fellow scholars for the National Black Writers Conference first ever student panel. We've been tasked with exploring how popular culture contributes to the way we face social issues and motivates us to participate in activism. I'm sure this will be a very interesting and thought-provoking discussion, and we hope that you all will be inspired. Please hold any questions or comments for the Q&A after the discussion. Our first panelist is Levi Wise-Kenneth Catoe, Jr. Levi Wise-Kenneth Catoe, Jr., also known by the stage names Kenny Fame and Levi Wise, is a writer, playwright, and educator in the Sikh department at Medgar Evers College. His work, grounded in the legacy of Amiri Baraka and the Black arts movement, uses theater as a vehicle for social consciousness and transformation. A 2010 Black Writers Conference Poetry Award recipient and 2023 Emerging Scholar, he is the playwright of From the Other Side of Darkness. His creative work has earned recognition across more than 117 film festivals, reflecting his commitment to social engaged, multidisciplinary storytelling. Levi, thank you for being here and starting off this panel.
Art is revolution, playwriting, popular culture, and social justice. Hi everyone, my name is Levi Catoe, and I just want to say hi. And today I want to explore the idea of art as revolution, how Black theater and popular culture don't just entertain us, but help us survive, resist, and imagine something freer. Because for many of us, especially in Black communities, theater has always carried something deeper. Before we had the language of theory, before policy debates reached us, before we could name what we were experiencing, we were already learning through stories, through music, through characters who looked like us and felt like us. And maybe you've had that moment too, when something on stage or screen made you feel in a way the world didn't. But let's go back for a second. In 1936, at Harlem's Lafayette Theater, a production of Voodoo Macbeth was staged as part of the Federal Theater Project. It was directed by a young white director, Orson Welles, but performed by an all-Black cast. And even now, that moment feels complicated. On one hand, something radical was happening. Black actors were centered in classical work, Shakespeare no less, performed in Harlem for Black audiences. At that time, that kind of visibility wasn't just rare, it was unimaginable. But at the same time, there's tension there. A white director, Black bodies, a Black space. So maybe the question isn't just what is revolutionary, maybe it's also what kind of revolution was it? Because it feels like a moment of access, but not quite ownership yet. For me, these questions aren't just historical, they're personal. I grew up in the CCP projects in Paterson, New Jersey. We didn't have formal theaters like that, but in a way, everything around me felt theatrical. There was always a performer, a storyteller, a personality, and then there was me, trying to figure out where I fit in all of that. That changed when my father took me to see a soldier's play. And I remember feeling almost unsettled because what I saw on that stage, black men being vulnerable, complicated, honest, felt so real, it almost felt private. Like something that wasn't supposed to be exposed, but at the same time, it opened something up in me. It made me realize that our stories didn't just belong in our communities, they deserved to be seen. Later, my father took me to see Ain't Misbehavin', introduced me to the legacy of Fats Waller. And I started to understand something else. Theater doesn't just tell stories, it preserves memory. It restores what might otherwise be lost, and maybe that's part of what makes it revolutionary. To really understand that, we also have to think about space. Who gets to exist somewhere? Who gets pushed out? And what remains after? When I attended AMDA at Lincoln Center, I learned that before that space became what it is today, Lincoln Center, it was San Juan Hill, a thriving Black and Puerto Rican community. That community was displaced, but something of it still lingers, even in something like the musical West Side Story. So the question becomes, what does it mean when people are removed but their culture remains? Maybe that too is a form of resistance. And I didn't always think about writing this way. I was introduced to the Black arts movement while studying here at Medgar Evers College and encountering Amiri Baraka, and that changed everything for me. Up until then, I always written, but I hadn't yet understood writing as responsibility. Baraka's work didn't ask for comfort. It didn't try to ease tension, it confronted it. And his play, The Dutchman, especially forced me to sit with how deeply racism operates, not just socially, but also psychologically. It made me realize what I hadn't fully considered before, that art can be dangerous, and maybe it's supposed to be, because when art tells the truth, it unsettles. And Baraka wasn't alone in that. Writers like Ossie Davis with Pearlie Victorious and Lorraine Hansberry with Raisin and Sun were also reshaping Black life that was represented, not as background, not as side stories, but as central, complex, and worthy spaces. Their work reflects something larger too, the movement of Black people across this country, the Great Migration, the search for opportunity, the tension between leaving and staying, and how all of that shows up on stage. And when I think about the lineage of Black theater, it feels like an evolution. Moments like Voodoo Macbeth opened the door but didn't fully give us control. Later, artists like Paul Robeson began to claim space more directly. And then writers like Baraka, August Wilson, and Ntozake Shangi took it even further, shifting from presence to ownership to definition. And we see that same evolution in popular culture. In The Wiz, survival itself becomes a kind of resistance. And you can't win. The Scarecrow sings about being underestimated, overlooked, and you'll never succeed. And maybe that's why it resonates, because it's not just about Oz. It reflects what it can feel like growing up Black in America, navigating a world that questions your potential. Then there's Dreamgirls, Step Into the Bad Side. Raises the question, what does success cost? It speaks to compromise, capitalism, and what it means to navigate systems that don't fully value you. These shows were offering political insight even when they weren't labeled as political. And then something like Hamilton shifts the frame once again, reimagining who gets to occupy history and who gets to be seen and central to it. So how does that all connect back to Voodoo Macbeth? When I think about it, it starts to look like a kind of evolution, almost like a timeline. Step one, Voodoo Macbeth, 1936, a white director who went on to change Hollywood with one of the greatest films of all time, Citizen Kane. A Black cast, We Can Be Here. Step two, Othello, 1943, a Black actor. Paul Robeson with a political voice. We own this. Step three, Amiri Baraka, August Wilson, Ntozake Shangi. Black writers, Black control. We define this now. And maybe that's what we're really looking at. Not just moments in Black theater history, but a shift in power. That's the evolution of Black theater. So maybe the question underneath all of this is, who gets to belong? And maybe this is part of the larger question. And for me, that question now lives inside my own work, my own play, From the Other Side of Darkness, which draws from The Wizard of Oz and The Wiz, but reimagines them through African and diasporic perspectives, because I've become interested in the idea of home. What is it really? Is it a place? Is it a memory? Is it a source? In my work, the sun becomes a symbol of that, of origin, of connection, of something shared. So I find myself asking, what if theater is the space where we practice a different kind of world, where we can imagine connection before it fully exists? Where we can try on justice before we see it realized, because maybe that's what makes art revolutionary. Not just that it reflects reality, but it gives us a place to rehearse for something bigger. And if we can imagine it there, maybe we can eventually build it here. And for me, here matters because it was here at Medgar Evers College where I first began to understand that my voice had purpose, that my writing could do more than express. It could challenge, it could disrupt, it could reach people. So standing here now, reaching people, talking about art as revolution isn't just theory for me. It's a continuation of what I started learning right here at Medgar Evers College as an English major. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Levi. Thank you for that powerful presentation. You really showed how the history of Black literature influences social activism. Thank you. Our next panelist is Shamiqua Wilson. Shamiqua Wilson is a 22-year-old up-and-coming singer-songwriter, author, and producer based in New York City. Her debut poetry collection, The Hills and Valleys, was released in April 2021. Wilson has also collaborated with arts organizations such as Young Lords Collectives, Kinetic Arts, Brooklyn Museum, and more. Indulging in the momentum slowly and steadily, Wilson's second album, Spiral, was released on August 22nd, 2025. For more, please visit shamiqua.com. Shamiqua, welcome, and we're excited for your presentation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Hi, how are you? My name is Shamiqua. I'm a musician, scholar, writer, and I'm very happy to share my thoughts on how we can reclaim social thought in the age of digital individualism. Popular culture has historically served as the most visceral mirror of our society's collective pain, drive, and yearning for freedom. For the Black writer and artist, this medium is more than just entertainment. It is a communal ritual where suffering transcends time and becomes the leading catalyst for healing and activism. However, we are currently navigating a significant shift, which is the rewiring of social thought by algorithms and artificial intelligence. These forces compete for our capacity to feel, connect, and think both naturally and for ourselves. It's not just the expression of our souls that is currently being threatened, but also our ability to lift as we climb. We are replacing phone calls with our community by opening new chat boxes, and we need to foster networks and communities through our ability to reach out and say, hey, I see you, and because I see you, let's get through this together. To understand where we are going, we have to observe and understand where we have been. Initially, Black social thought formed in natural or third spaces, like barbershops, churches, family dinner tables, get-togethers, and barbecues. Before group chats and parasocial relationships, there were real-life connections. I remember growing up and playing outside. We'd always knock on each other's door like, hey, come outside, come outside. Oh no, she can't come outside, she gotta clean up something first. So I remember having those memories, you get to really engage with your community on a personal level. We don't really have that so much unless we're in academic spaces or unless we are like on our phones, really. It's really the phone thing. And then we see like with art, when we share our art now, it is converted into data points. It's no longer about creating, it's about being seen and perceived as creative. The focus goes from the substance of a poem or a song into how many people liked it, or shared it, or saved it. And because of this, artists have changed how they create, and importantly, why. Some artists will only write for their feed. It will never go past their phone. And some activists will only protest for clout. Hidden motive. It is both the result of a distorted reward system that social media traps its users in. We used to thrive on slow burn connections, but now the entire world is at our fingertips. An issue I find interesting is the rise of artificial intellectualism. A lot of art and essays are being generated by machines that haven't felt any part of what they're writing, and they're regurgitating the work of marginalized groups. The problem is not so much the opportunity, but the user, and when we think about intention and why we're doing these things. We created a culture that highlights academic inadequacy, and it caters to the naturally smart. So then we have another issue where informal education is frowned upon. So we have scholars who aren't interested in learning, but are interested in trying to keep up with an outdated social system. And we also see this in the music industry. I am a musician too, so trust me. We see this in AI music, like the artist Sienna Rose. She's appeared to be a Black musician, but she's AI, and all her music is R&B, rhythm and blues, but it's not real. And we have an issue where we have artists like Olivia Dean, who just won a Grammy for the first time, and she's been working hard for years. And people are using her music to generate AI music, and it's very disappointing. We put so many unrealistic expectations on others to create amazing work, but without the proper tools, it's not effective. Artists need breaks, shelter, food, clothing, and instruments. And we have a generation of consumers who aren't interested in what it takes to create a star, but are more interested in taking the voices of artists that have come before instead of paying the ones that are alive. Imagine spending years developing and building on your craft and being dropped from your label because your music is not performing and an AI artist is. Even prominent artists aren't free of this. I think the most radical thing that we as artists, musicians, and writers and scholars can do is embrace silence and boredom. It is predominantly our rage and pain and our stories that are capitalized on. In Cal Newport's books, Deep Work and Digital Minimalism, he emphasizes the idea that our ability to focus in today's modern digital landscape is very important. For activists, focus is required for survival. For writers, space and silence is required for storytelling. As we see also, for example, in Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own, I love that story, that selection. And then for musicians, life is important for songwriting. You need to have experience so that when you tell a story in a song, people can feel it. If our platforms fragment our attention every 3 seconds, we lose the ability to think through tough situations. And are we really truly able to change the world if we have a 3-second attention span? I don't think, okay. One of the biggest downfalls of the modern digital age is the normalization of not asking for help. Social media platforms manufacture the self, the individual experience, feeling, and content based around a single self, observing what's in front of them. So you have people that are documenting their life, and instead of just living, like you could just put up your phone. Oh, I'm not gonna, let's say you wanna write, and instead of writing, you're busy pressing the record button, so you have your phone like this, and you're not focused, you're not present in what you're doing. And we see a lot of this. People are going on walks, and they're going to the beach, and they're going to the pool, and they're not really present. The attack is on the present, and we need to really put that away and focus and really be with ourselves and nature. Historically, when we look at Black social thought, the individual was always secondary to the community. Healing was communal, but now we encourage prolonged periods of isolation. And it's not really isolation, it's kind of artificial because people are documenting it and interrupting it with the phone. The poet Mary Oliver has always done a phenomenal job at drawing her audience back to the natural world. In her poem, Wild Geese, she writes, "You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves." These lines are a direct call from the natural world to those entrapped in the digital world. We are encouraged to be productive, authentic, but not too authentic, and we have to constantly rely on our trauma for data points. In another poem, my favorite poem by her, she writes, it's called The Journey. She writes, "As you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of cloud, and there was a new voice which you slowly recognized as your own that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save." And I love this poem because it's very flowery, but it also gives power to the proclamation of self, the desire for autonomy and the certainty of the universal self encapsulated in both the last two lines. I think before we attempt to give back to our people, we have to save ourselves first. We have to abandon the noise and tune into our boredom and silence. And we can't forget the moment we are stabilized, we get to return the love. We don't have to, but we get to. If we allow technology to mediate our every emotion, we will lose the deep empathy that has driven every Black social movement in history. But when we protect our focus and put down our cell phones, we can better pick up our pens, instruments, and get a better grip of the hands of the voices around us. How am I doing on time?
Keep going.
Keep going.
Y'all want more? I have like a couple pages left. Okay.
Just speed it up.
Okay. In J. David Butler's book, The Digital Plenitude, we can see a bit more closely the exhaustion that the modern Black creator is facing. Bolter confronts the idea that a few voices pioneered the push and pull of how we define culture, but now we have millions of people changing the modern landscape of what we define as culture today. This is the dilemma we're in now. There are infinite voices, platforms, and content, and it's almost the golden age of our democracy because we don't have to depend on one publishing house. We can publish our stories ourselves and build our readership on our phones. The hard part is that when everyone is speaking at the same time, unification is split. There is no one product or ideology that can dominate public consciousness for long because of movies, a popular movie that might come out, a meme that's very funny, and it just completely distracts us from the social thought that was engaging us. And we might just get drowned in the sea of data that's around us. I think not depending on short bite-sized clips is crucial for artistic liberation, which influences social thought. As a creative, I have experimented with short-form art, and it leaves me and many other creators feeling unsatisfied with the output, quality, and impact because some stories are not meant to be told in a few minutes, especially if we are visionaries and telling honest stories. Honesty takes years to tend to.
Okay, thank you, Shamiqua. Thank you so much for that presentation. Your topic is something that is impacting us now and will continue to impact us in the future and gives us food for thought. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And last but not least, surely not least, is our last presenter, Miss Aaliyah Bartholomew. Miss Aaliyah Bartholomew, athlete, speaker, poet, scientific researcher, and advocate. Aaliyah Bartholomew may have many roles, but the ones she holds most dear are those of daughter, sister, and friend. Committed to excellence, Aaliyah credits her accomplishments to God. She believes we are all destined for greatness and encourages everyone to follow their dreams. Aaliyah, thank you for being here. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let me come a little closer. Culture influences, but you have the choice to choose. Popular culture refers to the collection of ideas, beliefs, and behaviors that are widely accepted and practiced by the masses. It reflects the various cultural artifacts, trends, media, and entertainment that is currently in style. In other words, it capitalizes on what is most valuable or pleasurable and promotes it. However, at any given time, These criteria may change, and the past beliefs, value systems, and behaviors may also change in accordance. This mind-boggling phenomenon begs for us to take a closer look at ourselves and consider, are we completely autonomous, or are we merely just amalgamations of the various cultures, social constructs, and societies that we are a part of? It's true, our upbringing, lived experiences, and life choices have all shaped how we think about society, interact with our community, and encourage activism. Some may think one behavior is acceptable and celebrated, while others may ridicule it and oppose it. But I say, choice and culture both play vital roles in this discussion. However, to truly uncover which takes precedence, we must dive deeper and hold a magnifying glass to the contributing factors. So let's start at the beginning. To find an answer to a question, you must first start at the beginning of the question being asked. So in this case, we must start at the beginning of life and where influence is first introduced. Even before a baby is born, the world starts its influence at the moment of conception. From the quality of the sperm and egg that fuses in the mother's womb, and the mother's health at the onset of pregnancy. The world starts to shape the zygote that will ultimately develop into the baby. Whatever the mother eats, the baby eats. Whatever she breathes, the baby breathes. Whatever she hears, the baby hears. And whatever she interacts with, so does the baby. So how does popular culture come into play here? Well, let's think about it. If the mother subscribes to a certain way of life, which may or may not be influenced by the current trends of the time, then the baby will be influenced by those same factors in direct and indirect ways. These influences only become stronger after birth, when the baby is fully exposed to the world. Our first introductions to the world, in most instances, come from our primary caretakers. And the culture we initially assimilate to is the one exposed to us by these individuals. The people we are around in our households and the individuals we interact with every day shape our early years and influence our development tremendously. Many of our attachment styles develop from the care we receive as infants and can mold our preferences for future relationships. As children grow and move on to various educational levels, more influence is introduced in a plethora of ways. Media consumption from TVs and electronic devices, interactions with peers and adults, regulations from governmental and institutional policies, access to resources, type of living environment, and even engagement in physical activity. These all leave an imprint on the development of that child. Each imprint carries a unique signature, and each signature, whether good or bad, shapes a piece of the lens we will use to eventually view life through. Now, with this foundation laid, we can go on to tackling the overarching question: how does popular culture influence social thought, shape interaction, and encourage activism? Though loaded, yes, this question encourages active thought. And to help break it down, I will use myself as an example. I am originally from the island of Grenada, and the way Grenada is vastly different from the way New York City is, not just in topography, but also in way of life. During my developmental years and during my developmental years, the various beliefs, values, and behaviors I practiced were a reflection of the society I was a part of. Now living in New York City, I can say, now living in New York City, I can say that although I remain rooted in my Grenadian heritage, there were some beliefs, values, and behaviors I had to assess and ultimately adjust to thrive and not just survive in the US. Using this as a guide, we can see that I had to choose what belief systems I was going to use to help me develop into the person I wanted to be. That came through many hours of retrospection, introspection, and engaging in self-improvement practices. I also had to assess how I interacted with myself, because this would become a direct reflection of how I would interact with others. Now, in the terms of activism, a large portion of the way we see this is based on many of our personal stories. For me, I know I was born free, and the rights I have were not given by a mere mortal, but by an eternal God that rules from everlasting to everlasting. So engaging in activism and advocacy for me feels just like breathing, because it is a fundamental human right and not a cause for discussion or debate. I can see, however, how some may take a different stance on this issue based on the generation they were born into, the stories passed on through the bloodline, the unique history of that individual's heritage, and the various social constructs they are or were a part of. Again, we see how intertwined choice and culture are as we navigate these areas. If you were born around the time when the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was passed, you would most likely have a specific take on activism and advocacy. This bill prohibited discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, and emphasized that it was a fundamental human right that all humans be treated with respect, dignity, and kindness. If you were an oppressed group around the time of this bill passing, or someone who was in support of the bill, this law would feel like a well-received recognition and confirmation that what I was fighting for matters, because I matter. Again, if you grew up during the 2000s to 2010, around that area there, you would have grown up during a time when the digital age, there was a rapid you would have grown up during the age when rapid Again, if you grew up during the 2000s and 2010s, you would have grown up during the age when rapid technological advancements led to the first smartphones. You may have had a drastic change in the way you have accessed the internet and engaged with electronic devices. From what was the standard of the 1990s of desktop computers and laptops to now the new way of handheld, fully integrated mobile devices, you would have had to adjust your current way of life while taking the knowledge you had from the previous conventions of the past. Many of us here had to make a similar adjustment just a few years ago with the emergence of AI. These instances shows how adaptable and resilient we are as a species. And as we do our best to navigate these various twists and turns we encounter and traverse, these instances show us how adaptable and resilient we are as a species, as we do our best to navigate the various twists and turns we encounter as we traverse this terrestrial plane. In the end, I believe choice is the greatest differential factor. Though the times may change and the various trends may come and go, the people we choose to be, the impact we choose to make, and the lives we choose to live are all up to our own discretion. We choose. My final admonishment to you. My final admonishment to you. I hope you choose to live a life worth living, to carry out the destiny that was assigned to you from the beginning of time, to love your body enough to nourish it well and to move it regularly, to build community and to hold family and loved ones dear, and to remember that you are worthy to give love and receive love freely. Choice is free. If used wisely, it can create empires, build generational wealth, and create a more equitable and moral society. Culture may dictate, but we still have the choice to choose. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. What a wonderful way to end this presentation. That was powerful. Let's give another hand. Really great presentations, and our mega ever scholars. Yes. Thank you, Levi. Thank you, Shamiqua. Thank you, Aaliyah, for setting the table filled with such thought-provoking work. It was a feast now, wasn't it? Now let's really dig into the ideas that you all have raised and put on our plates. My first question will be for Levi. Levi, I love how you began with Wells and Voodoo Macbeth and showed the evolution of Black theater becoming for us, by us. Why do you think it is important that we are the ones who get to tell our stories and control our narrative in pop culture?
Because I feel as though only Black people can tell Black people's story. And to quote someone in the room, Dr. Brenda Green, she always told me to never ignore the Black gaze. And that's one of those comments that changed my life. So if you look at the history of filmmaking and you look at the first film that was ever created, which was Birth of a Nation nearly 100 years ago, and you look at the images was of the Black being all pejoratives, killers, stalkers, predators, in blackface, portrayed by white actors, white damsel in distress, the white shining knight that saved the white damsel in distress from the Black negative that was eating fried chicken and throwing chicken bones, eating watermelon. That was the beginning of the Black narrative. It started with filmmaking in general. When D.W. Griffith created the first Black film, he created the narrative that Blacks are negative, and that depiction is still played. Like, I seen a movie recently, it was One Battle After Another, and it was very hard to get through the first half an hour because of the way Tiana Teller was projected, with her belly exposed, with her body exposed, being passed around from white man to white man, sexualized, fetishized. It was hard for me. The gun, the violence, of course, the white knight that saved the day and saved his daughter, which was Leonardo DiCaprio. Had he not been in the film, I doubt it would have ever got made. Yet, it was the most awarded film of 2026. It won 6 awards. Whereas Sinners was literally stated by a critic to be a DEI award given to Michael B. Jordan. So you got to look at that. You got to look at the way we are depicted and how we've always been depicted through the white gaze. Until the black gaze is no longer ignored and the narrative is created by the Black, such as a Ryan Coogler, someone as a Black writer creating this perspective of who we are as people and creating whole images, real images. It's not negative, it's positive and entertaining as we are. That depiction and that Black narrative that becomes the truth over time, which it has over the past 100 years and still hasn't still hasn't changed until we take control of our own narrative and we create our own voices and we stop allowing white people, the media, which is white owned, to depict us as people. Things will never change. And like I said, I was taught by Dr. Green, never ignore the black gaze and always make sure the gaze you follow is through the black gaze rather than the white gaze, because the white gaze is not the right gaze. And I'll just leave it at that.
Yes, the white gaze is not the right gaze. Okay. I agree. I agree. My next question is for Shamiqua. In this digital age where we're in, a lot of people have become complacent in doom scrolling and being isolated. I think your premise begs us to ask the question, what happened to our village and can we get it back?
That's a great question. I think you have to be really intentional about getting up, going outside. People say touch grass and it's like a joke, but it's like, you might make a friend touching grass. You might see somebody and you guys, they're reading a book you like, or you might, hear a song, somebody's playing music, or there's so many ways to connect with people. We have culture, and that is like the greatest way to connect. Music connects, reading connects, fashion connects, style and certain individual choices connects us with our village, and they are indicators of who we are, and that attracts people, the right people, our village, to us. I think also you said about doom scrolling. I think for me, I have to trick myself. So to stop doom scrolling and to I don't bring my phone in the bathroom. If I ever use my phone, I make sure if I go on TikTok, I have to be standing up. So that, no, seriously, I cannot sit down and be on TikTok because I'll just be sitting there, you get trapped, it's so bad. But I have to stand up. If I know I'm going to open TikTok, I stand up, and then I'm like, oh, this is boring. Because I'm like, what am I even standing up? You don't engage with laziness. So that's a tool that I use. But also just going outside, seeing things you're interested in, and you can find your village that way.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And to go back to what you mentioned in your presentation of how, when we're doing an activity, we still have our phones. People are, want to capture every moment.
Yeah.
And I went to the New Edition concert a week or two ago, and everyone is just and I'm like, no,
That's how you should.
Yeah. I'm back 9 years old. Of course I wanted, you want to capture it, yes. Okay, 1 or 2 pictures, and put the phone down and enjoy yourself. You're gonna remember the feeling. You're gonna remember all that. How many pictures we have in our phones, and we never go back to it, so.
And I just want to add on to that, because a lot of artists, what they're doing is, I think Bruno Mars, Jill Scott is going on tour, and she's not allowing people to use phones at her concerts. And I think that's a brilliant thing to do, because first of all, as a musician, you are creating a whole entire experience, and people are taking it and putting it online. It doesn't make it as sacred. And then you also have people who are not present. You should be jumping around acting a fool at a concert. It's the only place you get to do it. And you paid to do it. You paid that money, so you should be able to do that and have fun. Just be free without feeling somebody's watching and recording. It's going to be on the internet. It's such a weird dilemma, But I think, you're right.
Thank you. Aaliyah, you began by saying pop culture capitalizes on what is valuable and pleasurable. What, in your opinion, is being capitalized now to shape social interaction, if anything?
Well, I think there's a lot that goes into saying that anything that is on a digital device is going to be what's most popular. So whatever trend is trending, if it's a dance move or if it's a style or a fashion or maybe even an era, I was having this conversation the other day. I was like, is the 90s coming in, or is it 2000? Is it 2000 and teens, or are they all just mixed up? Everything's coming back. So I tend to see like there's two sides to pop culture. There's the real trendy one, like, okay, whatever is in now, that's the current fad, that's the way of life. And then there's a kind of nostalgic part of pop culture where people are kind of revolting. They're going into the renaissance of like, no, let's keep it the way it was. So like the golden eras, everyone has their own golden eras. So they're like, Sharice always mentioned in the 90s, so I know that's hers right there, you know? But I think even though pop culture could show you something, you still, as what I spoke about, have the choice to receive it and practice that. Because if you're always going to keep up with a fad or a style, then that means you will be forever in that race, and you ain't going to win, because whatever comes out is what you're going to have to catch up to. Mm-hmm. But if you set your own style, then you don't have to catch up to anything. You're in your own race, and you done won already. So that's what I think.
Love that. Thank you. Levi, you spoke of how representation inspired you and influenced your growth as a writer. What does representation in pop culture mean to the present and future of social consciousness and activism?
I mean, it depends on what you choose to focus on in terms of representation. I mean, it's like Aaliyah just said, people choose what they want to follow and what they want to be entertained by. And like Shamiqua said, you have to be very intentional with what it is that you choose to follow. So for me personally, in terms of style, I'm kind of errorless. I'm kind of really into Harlem Renaissance. I'm definitely a historian. So I definitely go back to the old times. It's elements of all different generations that was very entertaining. So in terms of representation and how you see yourself, I guess you have to choose for yourself where you fit in, where you belong, what era you're most comfortable with, how you see yourself. But like I said, it's most importantly, as a creative and as an artist, always try to be creative and intentional about what you do in terms of your form of art, what's best for you. And I'm someone actually that doesn't stay on the phone. And I actually try not to take pictures. I try not to be on social media because I don't want to be influenced by what's going on in popular culture. As a writer, as a creator, as a playwright, I try to create my own plays. Like when I write plays, it's always to the black gaze. And I always introduce it to people like, hey, this is the black gaze. Get used to it. This will be what you will now represent. This is going to be true. I mean, Amara Baraka did it with Black Arts Movement. Harlem Renaissance Movement, that was created by blacks in Harlem, which eventually moved downtown. Now they call that the Village. Because that was the first LGBT, evolution. So I'm just very much into creating your own movement, your own. I'm from a small town in Jersey, from the projects where every project had their own thing. So I'm from that space where we create our own thing. There was no popular culture. We didn't have any TV stations or radio stations. Everything was out of New York. So the projects, we created our own style wherever you live. An interesting thing, Dr. Green, last night you talked about Donald Trump putting a Christopher Columbus statue. I'm from CCP Projects, so that's Christopher Columbus Projects. We literally had a statue monument of Christopher Columbus between building 3 and 4. So that's my upbringing. I grew up watching our colonizer, and he was my hero. He was the one statue in the building, between the building and our courtyard. So I grew up playing on top of him, climbing him. So the point I'm trying to make is, as individuals, we have to create whatever our black gaze is, and we have to create our art and make people pay attention to who we are as artists by creating originality. That's what black people do. That's what we've always done. And eventually we knocked down that statue of Christopher Columbus and replaced it with a black one. So that's how we did it.
Thank you. And that's why you're part of my village, because we're both
Yes.
historical people and we always in the past.
Yes.
Thank you. Aaliyah, how can people of the African diaspora having various beliefs and social constructs use pop culture to engage in social interaction with one another to become more unified?
Oh my, that's a good one. I think I'm seeing that happening right now, actually, because as I mentioned, there's a kind of renaissance. There's always going to be that revolt happening when people feel like we're getting taken advantage of. We need to go back to our roots. So it starts off from what people know. So if you're from a Caribbean culture, you're going to see a lot of that. The Renaissance starts there. If you're Black American, then you're going to see the Renaissance there. Then we're going to see a lot of similarities start to converge. And it's in the similarities where the beauty happens, because we realize that we are all the same. We all came from the motherland, Africa. So even if we don't speak the same language, there are certain things ingrained in us. And I'm a scientist, yes, I'm a biology major here. I honestly believe sometimes, like, Blackness just in our genetic code at this point, because there's a certain language. You could look at someone and just do, they know what that means. Or be like, they know what that means. And it's just those nice little nuances that remind me that regardless of whatever is happening, if we really become present, the answer to that question is not that hard, because we have it already. I think we just have to start embracing who we are again. We getting so caught up in being in style and in fashion that we are getting out of style and out of fashion with ourselves. We're throwing authenticity away to pick up what is currently now the thing. But as I said, it gets dropped ever so often, so you will always feel less than when you hold yourself to that standard. So my thing, go back to where you started from. Before you came out of your mother's womb, you didn't have a phone in your hand, right? So the phone doesn't have to be with you everywhere. As Shamiqua said, literally, touching grass really does something. For me, if I go back home, one of my favorite places is the beach. I'm telling you, if I'm there on the sand just watching the sunset, literally, that's peace. That's heaven to me. I'm on a playing field where it's just grass. Real grass, not the fake grass. Real grass. And I'm just there. I take my shoes off. I walk barefoot. It's like you could literally feel the electricity, the connection with the earth. So to be short with this answer, I really believe going back to basics is going to help us find ourselves again. And it's going to mean doing less on the phone and doing more in person.
Thank you. I
agree. That's how I feel about the Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
The memories of going summers in Jersey Shore.
Yes, thank you. Shamiqua, to keep on the topic of social media, and because that's what I feel sometimes is, that is what popular now. Being an influencer has taken over social media. That's all the young people want to be influencers. In what ways can influencers use their platforms to inspire meaningful activism and not just for clout, as you mentioned, or performative support?
That's a really hard question. I'm not an influencer, but I see a lot of creative people are encouraged to use their platforms as influencers. I think when you have a certain level of influence or connection to a certain audience or demographic, you have to be able to share resources. If you see certain things happening and people need food, people need shelter, I think sharing food pantries, sharing things where people can get food, housing, just the basic necessities on your platform could be very helpful, because a lot of people are seeing it and they could share it. When we talk about performativeness, I think we have to step away from the obsession with infographics and trying to push out only certain topics that are popular, and we have to be aware of who's doing that, because it's are you really trying to help, or is it about starting a conversation, or is it about gaining a following? I think we saw a lot of the Black Square, and we saw a lot of just not being genuine online. I think it's hard because musicians are being encouraged to be influencers, and actors are being encouraged to sell themselves on social media sometimes. I think we just have to be aware of who's watching and encouraging the ability to share the resources that are in the world, not like online, that's not helpful. Sharing resources that are offline.
Can I answer that?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, because when we think about influencers, like if you're a singer and you're an artist, one of the things that you need, even for agents, first thing to ask is, what's your Twitter handle? Well, X. What's your X handle? What's your Instagram handle? What's your Pinterest handle? They want to know all your handles, and what they really want to know is what are your numbers. So if your numbers are not great enough and they feel like they have to put too much work into developing you, into building an audience for you, 9 times out of 10 they won't sign you. They're looking for the person with all the numbers, full reach. They want to know how many views your videos gotten, if you recorded videos, how many streams you get on Spotify. So it's all a numbers game. So the problem with being influential and being an influencer is that your whole mindset is, what can I do for attention? I mean, we've seen that with Donald Trump, the eating the dogs, eating the cats. You know, he was talking about black folk, and that was because he knew it was allowing him to build his following and build his numbers because he went viral with it. So that's the problem with the influential thing. Everyone's chasing the numbers.
And I want to just add into that, go into a little bit more depth. I used to model, and they really want you, when you have brand deals, they want you to have 10,000 followers. They want you to build a personal brand. A lot of these brands are repetitive, and they're like having a certain personality that's not authentic. So I had a lot of different agencies following me because I had worked with a company that I performed for. I got my first film credit, and they would just watch, but they really wanted me to build something. And it's not just the modeling agencies, it's also the labels. I was signed distributively with Warner, and they wanted me, I don't even know if I should be saying all this, but they wanted me to...
Quickly.
Yeah, I know. They wanted me to basically have a certain amount of streams and a certain amount of monthly listeners. It's not about the music, it's about what keeps people attention. So I think that's sad, but we have to look past it and really just focus on the reason why we're sharing, what we want to say, why you want to say it, especially as black people, because you could just be doing what's popular and you don't even know who you are, and then you can't go back. You have to start all over again, and you don't want that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I totally agree, and I think that we have to, if we're going, because being on social media is inevitable. Sometimes we need it. We have to, do it, but we have to be. The biggest thing is being aware and using your platform responsibly, and using it to connect and not, disconnect from everyone. So I want to say thank you. Can we give everyone a hand? That was an awesome discussion, awesome presentation. I'd like to give it to the floor now for any questions. Dr. Green?
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
This was a wonderful panel. It's so exciting. And to see at least 2 of my former students or people who I've worked with, it's just, you don't know what it's doing to my heart. It's just really stimulating. And I just really enjoyed the papers. Really, they should be put into a book, I would say. You need to, we're documenting this on film, but I think it also needs to be documented in writing. You talked about creating community spaces. Let me just go back and say, thank you for the reference to the black gays. We have to reference Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison is the one who talked about the black gays. But you're right. That is something I think about consciously and very intentional. So all of you really alluded to creating some spaces and community spaces. And as I was thinking about this conference, we should have many more young people in this room. If you were on a committee and you had to work on bringing people into this conference, particularly for sessions like this, what would you do? How do you get people away from only dealing with the phones and the internet? How do you get them into these spaces? Because I think that's part of what's missing, that we are not talking to each other and we don't have enough spaces where we're coming out and having these discussions. And I'd like to hear your ideas on how we move that forward, because you are key. You're the leaders. You're the ones who are going to be leading this, who are leading this nation in some ways and leading our communities. So you have to take charge. You have the answers. I'd like to hear from you.
I mean, if I give my answer, I mean, some people might get mad at me at Medgar Evers, because I think that Medgar Evers should give extra credit for students that attend, because unfortunately a lot of students, because I have students, and when I told my students I was speaking today, I said, okay, I want you to come, I'm gonna help you with your reflection paper, and you can use it for extra credit through your own writing on your experience coming to the event. I don't see my students, but that was an option I gave them. I tried to encourage them to volunteer. I tried to get them out here. And I guess timing and scheduling is one of the problems, but I think that the campus needs to definitely get more involved with student interaction, not just the English department, all departments, because everything that's being said here, everything that was stated here, not only us, but all young people need to hear, all young adults need to hear. Because it's funny, because yesterday was a conversation, what was her name, Nicole? Mm-hmm. She made the comment of, we're not our ancestors. I get so offended when I hear young people, we are not our ancestors. I ain't good enough as Paul Robes and the rest of them, but I'm working to be as good as Amira Barack. I'm from New Jersey, so, Barack is, everything to me. So I'm saying, I'm working to be as good as my ancestors, but to hear a young person say, we're not our ancestors, that is insulting. And it was a young person that didn't even vote. So no, you're not your ancestors because you're not even voting. But that's stuff we need to be talking about. That's stuff we need to be working on as a community. That's stuff that we need to be changing. And like I said, I think the whole school should get in on all students attending the National Black Writers Conference, which only happens every 2 years, which is not often enough, and they need to be here, and teachers departmentally need to make sure those students, this whole room is packed. And I would have cooked some food so, everybody have something on their table to eat while they was here. That's my part.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes.
I'm gonna feel really bad for saying this, but I know how young people are. I know how I am. There has to be an incentive. I'm sorry. There has to be either food, there has to be something, because I don't think anybody's gonna sacrifice the phone and the dopamine because that's an incentive in itself, being glued to the phone. So I don't know, I just think having something for them, something engaging for them to do, like maybe an activity or like getting to mingle or like a game or something, just something to like engage so they're not just sitting down, because I think that could help.
A raffle,
something. Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, but just something to do. Yeah. So it's not like, because you want to reel them. You have to put it in front of them. Mm-hmm. You have to like reel them in, especially if they're like beginners. And these type of spaces, they could be intimidating, and they could be scary. So I have to think like that too. But I think just an incentive, whatever you could think of that. I don't know what incentive. I like food. I like good company. So I'll be here regardless. But I don't know about that. Yeah.
Can I add? So I tried actually. Mm-hmm. Last night I was in my lab class. I stood up in front of the class while we were in between doing the procedure, and I'm like, I advertised. Got up there, did my little speech. I put it on my Instagram. I put it on a post. I put it on a reel. I put it on LinkedIn. I tried. I invited people in person. Choice. Everybody have a choice. So, as they said, incentive, yes. I don't know if there is a going back to the way things were, where people would just come, oh, wow, knowledge that's free, and I can improve myself? Yes! I don't know if people are going to be like that anymore, but I know for me, if something can improve me in some way, shape, or form, I'll be in the building.
Well, it's clear that you have that inner drive, and I just want to close my question with, while I was teaching in the close to 44 years, I was at Medgar Evers College teaching, anyone who's in my class will know that on the syllabus, it said that you must attend 4 programs outside of the classroom, and you must attend the National Black Writers Conference, and that was, must write a reflective paper, and this is counting as part of your grade. And my students came to the National Black Writers Conference. And at one point, there was a time when we had the majority of students at least in the English department, who came out to the conference. I went to Howard University. They have a festival. The entire festival was full of students. The Gwendolyn Brooks Center for Black Literature and Creative Writing, when they do their festival, the entire room is filled with students. There's something that's missing here. And I think that as student leaders, and any faculty are here, I know the faculty who are here invited their students, but you can't just invite them.
Yeah.
You have to say, this is what you have to do. It has to be required.
Yeah.
So, but I really want to thank you again for your thoughtful conversations and for really laying it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much. My name is Claudette Joy Spence, and I participate in the Dr. Edith Rock Workshop for Elders. And so I wanted to come here to learn from folks who are much younger than me that we're asking the question about activism. Thanks for that presentation. Thanks for the Center for Black Literature. Oh my gosh, give it up for them. Come on.
Yes.
I would like to know what insights you have around folks from the diaspora who are emigrating into New York City. What beliefs on both sides of the fence need to shift so that we can more easily embrace each other and embrace and manifest the resilience and the activism that those of us in the room know needs to continue to happen, need to continue to build. Do you have any insights about how those of us from the Caribbean, from Latin America, from the African continent, once we get here, how do we interconnect and build?
But for me, that's something that I've been seeing. That's why I posed a question like that, because I see the divisiveness between the African diaspora. And one thing I can think of is when we stop trying to pit our struggles as I've had it, we had it worse, or I had it worse, or no, we, like Aaliyah said, we all came from the same, when we realized we all came from the same, how they say it was just a boat, and different stops. We're all struggling, we're all under oppression. And when we get to understand that and realize that, I think we can start to come together and stop nitpicking on, who had it worse. We all had it worse. Like, there's no way. And it's something that I've wondered a lot as well. How can we become more unified? And because this is what they want. They want us to keep us, pitted against one another, so that we won't be the force that we are.
I mean, for me as a theater person, I think that's definitely depicted in theater. Think of Platanos and Collard Greens, think of West Side Story. Like, if you're into the arts, and definitely the art in theater that I create, I always do the black, the brown, the white, and it's everyone coming together under the sun. Sun as a mother, Africa as a mother, Earth, all connecting as one. So for me, if people got into theater And black people, some black people feel as though theater is for them and it's not for us. And they feel like, oh, that's what they do versus us. We do the movies, they do theater and Broadway. No, we do Broadway too. And I feel like if people can see themselves under the same sun, dancing together, singing together, celebrating together, telling each other stories. I mean, that's what Lin-Manuel did so well. He had everyone connected together on that same stage, and you realize black, brown, whatever color you are, same voices became one voice, and everyone was together. And that togetherness, when people see themselves together on a stage, I think that kind of creates a oneness between different cultures, because people realize we all sing, we all dance, and we all like those same things. We just have different things that we grew up listening to or eating at home, but we're all the same. And you definitely seen that West Side Story. So theater definitely is one way to connect cultures.
I think something that stops cultures from connecting, kind of like what Sharice was saying, is competition. Who had it worse, and also who presents as better in terms of skin color, colorism, racism, where we are economically, what cities, people trying to kind of size you up and see like how good you have it, how bad you have it. I think we need to be humble. The diaspora needs to really be humble. Understand that just because they were either born here or not born here doesn't mean that they're better than Black American, or, I think there's a really big competition between the Black Americans and the Caribbeans. And there are certain advantages that both sides can have sometimes, depending on where they are. But I think we need to be humble. There's a lot of ego and when we think about who's on the front lines, we see it's most times a lot of black women on the front lines of these protests, activism, when we talk about pushing culture forward. It's a lot of black women, but then you see the skin color wars, and we see like the ego boost and the ego, we gotta be humble. It's not about what you look like, it's about what you're pushing for and who you're doing it with. So we gotta be humble and not compete, just walk as one.
And also be clear, outside of New York, you don't see the diversity you see here. So you go to a place like Jersey, I never seen a Haitian, I never saw anything but a Jamaican and Puerto Rican. So I never saw Dominicans growing up. So when you come to a city like New York City, everything is so different, so that definitely makes you feel like an outsider, because you didn't grow up in a space where everything was there.
Well, I'm an immigrant here as well. Well, from Grenada, from the Caribbean. So when you ask that question, it got me thinking about my life and what I've experienced. So I jot down a few things here. Individualism. So sometimes when people come here, they think like my way is the only way. And my way may look like only sticking with my culture, my people only. Because this could tie into fear of maybe going to jail, breaking the laws. People sometimes come here with fear. I have family members who, I ain't gonna put nobody business on blast. But let's just say, you could always tell that there's an undertone of fear when they make a decision. Oh, I don't want to get into trouble, I come here for a better life, So you come here for a better life, the opportunity is there, you go take whatever low-hanging fruit you get, not knowing that sometimes there's better fruit. You could go and pick up yourself, you don't have to take one on the ground, you don't have to take the scrums, right? So that's a big part is fear. Just sticking into your own, like what you grew up with, what you think you know, you stay there, you don't have an open mind, so that closed-mindedness. Another thing, bad influence is a real thing. Listen, you come to America, America is different from an island. On an island, yes, you might grow up, you see a few people on the side of the road by the rum shop, you might see some people maybe smoking some weed on the side. But America, New York City, ooh, let me tell you. I always tell people this. You can have whatever experience you want when you come here. You can have a good experience or a bad one. Why? Because you can find anything in New York City, good or bad. And the problem is, some people when they come here, naivety is a big thing from Caribbean people. Because me, when I come here, I just reach, I don't know nothing, right? So if a wrong crowd catch you and you ain't in tune with the spiritual, I'll have to go there because trust me, God does save, God does save. So if you go with the wrong crowd and you go down that wrong road and you don't have someone to help pull you out or some divine intervention, that's how you get lost too. Because in that place, you become so inundated with, like, let's say maybe different substances or just how you live a life, that living another life seems so foreign to it's not even fair anymore. You just don't want it. You don't care. You're going to refuse it. You're going to fight against it because it's like your innate being is being attacked. So that's what I'll say to that. And the last thing, to help with turning all of those things around, is coming here being objective. Being objective because you do not know what you're in for when you come here until you get here. Coming on vacation to the U.S. is different from living in the U.S. Trust me. People don't know that. And your question really talks to me because this is something that I want my people to know. You see, I'll get real straight with you.
But we're running out of time.
Okay, please. Just let me get just 1 minute, because this one real. When people come out from away and they go back home, they put in on the best this and the best that, gold this, best shoes, so they give people the idea that it's a better life. So when those people migrate to here, that's what they're gonna go towards, right? So I know I asked for a minute. I'll cut it, but all of these things. I'll stop.
But I totally get what you're saying. And so, you're so passionate about it, and that really seeps through, and that makes, I've seen the passion in all these presentations. It has inspired me. I am proud to be a part of these amazing scholars at Medgar Evers.
Professor, you had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to share that I'm Professor Dupre from the Mass Communications Department, and with the introduction to world art, I invited all my students to come, but they're right out of high school, and they have classes today, and that's the only, so we have to do something about the conflict. I have a specific question to ask you, Shamiqua. You were talking about your music. What kind of songs led to maybe some of the activism that is part of who you are?
I think, so when I first started, I've been releasing music for a long time, but around 2020, when we went through the George Floyd situation and we started seeing that issue, that really sparked something in me that made me start creating again a whole new version of myself. And I wrote a song called Rise. And it's a folk song, but it speaks about when we're gonna come together and like stand up from like the agony and the pain, and I wanted to create something that could feel like comforting for us to have. And yeah, it's just certain social things that happen. It makes me so upset, and I don't know where to put it, so I put it in the art. So that's one of the.
That's wonderful. Too bad we didn't have that here.
Yeah,
here.
Yeah.
But we have the talking heads, but the music would also be a way of sharing that conflict.
Thank you. Yeah, it would be nice to include it next time, maybe. That'd be good. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's good to see you.
Good afternoon. My voice is not do well with the chord. But the important thing really which we can rely on is culture or heritage. We have a proverb in Madagascar that when many cross the river together, they cannot be eaten by crocodiles. That is the answer really of most of our problems, both here and in the Caribbean and in Africa. Actually, if you put all those people together, we are more than Chinese. But if you take only the continents, Africa has taken over India in population. It's now number 2 to China. Africa has more of anything, of people, of food, of minerals, and we leave it to others. Africans don't use it because they don't have the knowledge or the science. Our minerals mostly come here. In fact, Trump has been making many, many trips to Africa and praise them. They want to be praised a little, you know, and in order to have those minerals. So the heritage, if here and Caribbeans and Africans can help each other, just like Jews. I'm an African myself. I come from Uganda and Kenya. In 1923, the world said, we are tired of Jews asking for homeland. Let them give them the homeland. They gave them my homeland, Uganda, and a part of Kenya, to be the homeland of the Jews. The Jews were invited there. It's a very beautiful land, if you know, from Mount Kenya all the way to River Nile. They looked at it, they said, that's a wonderful country, but no, we need our Palestine. They went back, and these guys in 1948 gave them Palestine. Now, Jews are a power in the world. We can make that a power by heritage, because when I see some people really abusing us, like in Florida, it is illegal to teach black studies. And when they were asked, they said, well, they feel bad when they think about slavery. Feel bad? What about those people who are still slavery? So why don't we develop a more firm Pan-Africanism, which our fathers and our forefathers made, the Malcolm X's, the Du Bois, the Medgar Evers, all those strings have become very loose.
Yes.
Young people like who go to school here, they could organize some trips in summer and go to Ghana or go to Burkina Faso or go to South Africa and make connections and make friends and have studies. Years ago, not very many, in 60s, 70s, people were very proud of dashikis and what have you. People are very, very, very united. When they are united, they cannot be exploited. Africa has got more everything, food, minerals, but all that doesn't actually develop Africa, it develops Europe. And they make sure that the Africans are not in charge of their things. People from here and there, they can make that kind of answer by refusing and by making unity.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that wisdom. Thank you. So thank you, Levi. Thank you, Shamiqua. Thank you, Aaliyah. This was an amazing presentation. Can we give it up one more time? And I want to thank the audience for joining us and for your questions and your insights. Please join us in the downstairs auditorium at 3:30 for the Dr. Edith Rock's workshop for elder writers. And later this evening at 6 p.m., please come right back here for the Poetry Cafe. If you want to see more programming for the Center for Black Literature, please visit the website, centerforblackLiterature.org, and donate what you can. Your generosity, big or small, makes a world of difference. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the conference. Please visit the rest of the conference and see these amazing panels and authors. I love Center for Black Literature, and I love the National Black Writers Conference. Thank you for having me.